Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumant Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today, I want to speak about what is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more. Codependency versus love. Alright? In other words, codependency versus interdependency. And I'm speaking in terms of an intimate relationship with somebody, a romantic partnership. Codependent. You're dependent on another person for your feelings, for your happiness, for your well-being. Whereas generally, it's supposed to come from within. First of all, I just want to say, what is love? Well, the best definition that I've gotten is actually from Dr. Barbara Fredrickson, where I did a course from Coursera from University of North Chapel Hill. And she was talking about love being micro moments of connection. I really like that, man. I really like that definition. Love is micro moments of connection. And it makes sense. All right, sometimes it's not love, but it's just proximity, and then it sort of becomes this thing that we think of as love, and it's an idea or a projection of love, but it's not really love. Love in its purest form feels like a connection. It feels like nurturing, kindness. It feels like grace. It's just like a sinking, like a relaxation, like a bliss, It's just like a, feels good. Feels good. It feels like flow state, right? Love is the ultimate flow state. Love is the ultimate flow state because it's acceptance, it's peaceful. It just feels easy. It feels easy. It doesn't feel difficult. It doesn't feel like, oh man, I have to walk around on eggshells around this person. You're not fearing judgment from the other person. You're just being. And you could have broccoli in your teeth. You could have your hair messed up in a bun. You could, be in sweatpants without makeup, and that person will still be attractive to you. It's important to have those looks in order to, all right? Definitely don't give that up. It just adds to the attraction factor, right? When your partner is just on fleek, partner's looking good, it's nice, What is healthy love? Healthy love is all about boundaries. Healthy love is about authenticity. Healthy love is non-suffocation, right? It's like this freedom as well as a love. This feeling of freedom alongside love. I feel like men require more freedom and women crave more love. However, when it works together and the man feels free, he doesn't feel suffocated, and the woman feels like she's getting that love, it creates this beautiful paradigm and polarity, right, between the masculine and feminine energy. And it's just this amazing back and forth, right? And when I say, masculine, feminine, it works even in the context of LGBTQ, all right? There's this invisible infinity bond that you imagine, right? It's this infinity bond, and it feels non-threatening, and it's just this connection between you two. And it's just a back and forth in this swift dynamic that's happening. What about codependent love? Codependent love is like two halves trying to make a whole, all right? So when you hear these terms like other half, and when you grow up watching a lot of Disney, as a woman, you probably feel like, oh man, I dream of being rescued by Prince Charming. And as a guy, you dream of being Prince Charming, or you dream of being the hero. But both stems from this place of like, I need validation. I'm desperate for validation from the other person. That's an unhealthy paradigm, all right? Because real love, there's no guessing games. There's no kind of, strange dichotomy where both of you are like trying to fill each other's void. It's about autonomy. Both of you are independent, but you're interdependent, right? But there's still this gap between you two, but you're still connected with each other, and you have your own interests, your own passions, your own friends, whatever, but then you still have interests and passions together, and you have a relationship. You're relating to each other. That's what the word relationship means. You're relating to each other. So the healthy identity is the self-validation. First of all, you feel fulfilled and whole and complete by yourself, and you love yourself. Only then are you going to resonate with someone who also loves themselves. You notice this when you're growing up in a family. You might have noticed maybe your parents were in a codependent / narcissist relationship, right? Codependents attract narcissists, not necessarily NPD, but just narcissistic tendencies. All right, so let's say for instance that you are a codependent who is the pursuer, you would attract someone who's a lot more avoidant or doesn't like to pursue, like kind of likes to sit back, right? So that's kind of an example of that, but this could be based on other traits too in your relationship. So basically, when you see that this person is projecting a confident aura, you actually want to be confident in yourself, and so you seek that out in the relationship, so you feel like you're extracting confidence from your partner being around them. That could be a case too, right? Oftentimes we can get addicted to love, all right? Love is a drug. Why do you say that? Well, because it's like, we have these thoughts like, I hope they don't leave me. I hope that they don't think this way about me. I hope they don't get attracted to another person. I hope that. It's this constant fear or this worry and fear of abandonment. And that fear of abandonment is a classic codependent trait. If you understand that you have your heart, the codependent creates a heart wall of control based on thinking rather than feeling. The wall is just a band-aid for thinking, not feeling. So instead of actually feeling the pain that you're feeling, what you'll do is you'll think about it or logicalize it or just have it be in some other way, like you'll overeat or you'll oversleep or you'll overshop or something. It will come out in some way for you to mask or numb that pain that you're constantly feeling, right? And so that's kind of the heart wall that you're creating in terms of not feeling. But the cure here is to actually get yourself to feel again and to create such a powerful identity and find a sense of your own values again and your own boundaries again, where you find that power. And you'll notice a lot in these types of relationships, right? It's like, why aren't you putting enough into the relationship? And then the other person's like, stop being needy, right? So the idea of what a relationship even is skewed in both parties. Relationship red flags. Someone who withholds affection. It's okay if they're not ready, but it's another thing that they're withholding it as a power dynamic, right? Another thing is hyper-focused on the relationship, completely focused on only the relationship and nothing else. All right, have nothing else going on for them, but just their main concern is just the relationship. Third thing is disregards boundaries. You speak of boundaries, but they disregard it completely. Other thing is invalidating, pressures you for sex, overly critical, avoids conflict, overshares personal details very, very quickly into the relationship, tells you everything about them, is inconsistent. So is like this one day and then another day they're completely the opposite. They lack empathy. They're manipulative, and also they're starting to enmesh with your family members. They're trying to get your family members on their side. All right, this is another manipulation tactic, right? So let's look at the green flags, all right? Green flags is someone who supports your personal growth, all right? Someone who practices self-care routines, someone who's self-reflective, has long-standing friendships. That's a good sign. Someone who has long-standing friendships. Somebody who has empathy, vulnerability, someone who's in touch with their spirituality, someone who's self-sufficient, someone who has very healthy hobbies, someone who communicates openly, someone who honors the other person's boundaries, someone who has self-responsibility, right? So essentially, like, you might notice a little bit of both, but it's important to talk about both of these with your partner, right? So when you do notice more of one coming up, often having a very healing conversation with them can get you back on a correct trajectory or path. If you see red flags through rose-colored glasses, they just appear as flags. So when you're in love, you actually don't see the red flags because you love them, because you appreciate them so much. A healthy relationship there's no wrestling for equality. Right? It just feels natural. It just feels organic. You know what I mean? Like, codependency creates this imbalanced power, and reverses it sometimes depending on the dynamic. So there's an uneven exchange of energy. Never compromising your integrity or your values or your identity for another person. You're basically you're putting your self-worth, your passions, your needs, you're communicating your needs. That's such an important one. Communicating your wants and needs, right? And when things get rocky from human error, you'll feel like you can handle it. When you're in a codependent or an imbalanced relationship, you'll feel like you can't handle it. In a healthy relationship, you can say no or yes, and you're okay to say no to others. You're okay to say, yeah, no. You want to go out with me and my friends? Yeah, no. Not today, hon. All right? You're okay with saying that. But in an unhealthy relationship, you can't say no because you're afraid of that abandonment or that rejection. So you're like, I don't want her to hate me. I want her friends to like me. So again, it's coming from this people pleaser kind of mentality, right? Okay, I guess I'll go along and compromise my values for this, right? In a healthy relationship, you have a strong sense of your own identity. You respect yourself. You have self-respect. In an unhealthy relationship, you become what you think they want you to be. You become a chameleon. You become, like, if they're like, oh yeah, I really want to, a guy like this, then you become that guy. Start compromising your own identity to be somebody different. That also doesn't mean that you don't work on yourself and on your own identity, obviously, right? Because you can change. So if you have unhealthy or toxic behaviors that you're working on, completely do that and change. Because everybody changes, right? A relationship goes through transition periods, right? It's not never the same. It's not linear, right? It's just like a spiral, or it's like a maze that you're just constantly weaving through, and you're going through little pockets of change. Stop making the same mistakes over and over again, guys. I'm telling you. Like, really start to learn from the mistakes that you make in a relationship. It's going to be the biggest thing that I'll tell you in this video, all right? Otherwise, life is going to keep smacking you on the head until you get it. In an unhealthy dynamic, you take on another person's problems as if it's your problem. You try to be the fixer of somebody else's problem, whereas it's their own problem to work through. Why are you fixing it for them? They just want to be heard. They want you to hear them out, right? But oftentimes we go and try and fix. That's the way a man's mentality works. It's like we're like a fireman, right? It's like, I must solve it right now. Go for it. Go. Feminine mentality is like, I just want to express myself, babe. I want to vent. And oftentimes that venting can also get nowhere, right? So it's important to have that communication of male-female dynamic in communication at times, right? Because we can go there. The healthy way is you share personal information gradually in the relationship. You gain more trust and you reveal more about yourself. But an unhealthy one would be like you share information about yourself too soon, or you go very deep, very fast. Before establishing any kind of trust, rapport, you just share your entire life story. That's a kind of a red flag, okay? I've had women do that to me, actually. And, like, I've met them in the first date, and they're, like, telling me about, like, I had this happen to me, and this past trauma, and this thing happened. Maybe that's just because I'm a therapist, I'm a positive psychologist, so I do hear that a lot. I just have a very trusting nature, I feel like in my own beingness, so maybe I just attract it in that way. However, I have noticed that, like, people are just, like, telling me everything about their lives, even in the date and stuff. So, but anyway, you have to own your wants, needs, and feelings, communicate them clearly. You're not going to tolerate any form of abuse or disrespect. Whereas in an unhealthy relationship, you have a high tolerance for abuse. You're okay with being treated with disrespect. You're committed to and responsible for exploring and nurturing your full potential. Whereas in an unhealthy one, you ignore your inner voice or your instinct, and you allow the other person's expectations of you to define your potential. Then, of course, in a healthy relationship, you value your opinions, your feelings, as much as the other person's opinions and feelings. However, in an unhealthy one, you tend to absorb their feelings. You rely on the other person's feelings and ideas more than you do your own. You're able to ask for help in an interdependent relationship. You're able to ask for help when you really need it. In a codependent relationship, you feel like asking for help is kind of a sign of weakness. You tend to avoid asking for help. In a healthy relationship, you don't compromise your values or integrity to avoid rejection or adversity or confrontation. However, in an unhealthy or codependent relationship, you're going to compromise your values and beliefs in order for you to just avoid conflict or getting into arguments. All right? So those are kind of the main ones that I've noticed. I mean, I'm sure you can pick apart and choose a bunch of things in your own life, in your own relationship, right? But honestly, I would also look into attachment styles. Attachment styles are huge. I have a fearful avoidant attachment style, and that's kind of led me to act a very specific way in my past relationships. Now that I'm much more aware of it, I can now change it. I now understand what my pain comes from, and my feeling of rejection or that fear of abandonment, whatever that is, that comes from. Knowing that, and also doing work with your wounds, right? So each of us in a relationship has a father wound and a mother wound. This is going deep Freudian stuff, right? You want to explore what are the effects of a father wound and what are the effects of a mother wound, and really start to heal those wounds with your own family, right? Start talking to your family members more, connecting with them more, because that's going to really help you in your relationships, all right? And maybe that feels like it's out of the case or whatever. You still want to visualize that happening. Right? Still, you want to close your eyes and still visualize that is being formed and that is being, consolidated. Because honestly, you want to heal that part of you. Because unconsciously, if you don't heal yourself, you're going to attract partners that it's going to heal it for you. It's going to trigger you, and that pain will get you to heal it because it'll get you to actually notice it. I'll give you an example, which is a very vulnerable example, but I used to attract a lot of controlling women in my relationships because I had a controlling dynamic with my own mother. In the family dynamic, she would tell me what to do. She wouldn't word it that way. I'm sure if I asked her, she'd be like, no, I'm not control. That's how I felt a little bit growing up. In the same sense, you might have this in a minor way. Like, I didn't have that big of a family, dynamic issue. My parents were lovely. They were absolutely amazing. There were certain issues that did affect me while I was growing up, them arguing and all this kind of stuff. However, I think that all parents go through that, and so it's not that big a deal in that sense. However, figure out what it means for you, right? Figure out what it means for you to be able to truly heal and go back to your own situations with your parents. Imago theory states that we unconsciously seek out partners which trigger our childhood wounds in order for us to heal it. It's a very powerful thing when you can actually sit with yourself and ask yourself, what do I truly want in a partner? What do I want and what I don't want? And just doing that will give you such clarity about what you actually want in a relationship and create your own relationship framework. This is something that I did. Once I know that, I have a lot more certainty now in terms of looking for someone who would be an ideal partner for me, right? Earlier, I didn't know. I wouldn't know, actually. I just had kind of vague ideas. Or I'd just be like, oh yeah, she's kind of hot. But now I kind of feel that, yes, looks are important, but also it's the soul candy, it's the brain candy, not only the eye candy. You know what I mean? Yeah, have a think about that. That's what I think. Love at the end of the day, it's a connector. It's a connector. It helps us connect with ourselves and with other people. So how we have love languages, and maybe you've done the test or quiz before. What I would do is do the love language and use that love language with yourself. Now, this is a unique thing, right? You might not have heard this. I said this in my self-love video as well. If it's physical touch, give yourself a pat on the back. If it's acts of service, give yourself a gift now and again. Right? Really start to build that foundation, because the self-relation is always going to dictate the outside relations. Speaking with your own inner voice and gaining that positive encounter with it. And then from there, it's going to be extra powerful. So I hope this video helped you out today. Have an amazing day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary.